Okay, good morning. We will go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to our virtual B-School event. I'm Logan Aguirre, President and Associate Publisher at Biz 417. This is our third virtual B-School event. So while we wish we could be together in person, we are just so thankful for our panelists and our sponsors and all of our attendees for joining us this morning in a virtual setting. So we are streaming this live on Facebook and also through our other platforms. So we hope today gives you a chance to reconnect virtually and get inspired for all the amazing things happening in 417 land. First, we want to make sure we recognize our sponsors. Our presenting sponsor is OTC Center for Workforce Development, and our contributing sponsors, American National and Blue Current Credit Union. Blue Current Credit Union is a new sponsor for B-School this month. We're really proud to have them. As Springfield's largest credit union, Blue Current has more than 22,000 members, 4 branch locations, and more than $190 million in assets. Thank you for partnering with us this morning to produce this event. Joining us from OTC Center for Workforce Development is Executive Director Sherry Coker, and she will kick things off this morning with a few brief words. Please help me welcome Sherry.
Hi, Logan. Thank you so very much. And I want to thank Biz 417 and everyone out there in our virtual 417 land for joining us this morning. I've had the good fortune of getting to sit for this last 30 minutes chatting with our panelists. And it's so fun to kind of look at what's going on in their lives and hearing about them. They're kind of at a different phase in their life than I am. Some of them are just sending their children off to school, to kindergarten. And I just dropped my daughter off to college at Missouri State. So it's an interesting time for all of us. As we know, we're worried about all these different things going on. But after chatting with with these representatives of the 10 for the next 10, I have a very strong feeling that we're going to end this COVID-19 business on a positive note. So again, I just want to thank Logan for hosting this event, and I am so excited to just kind of turn it over to you and hear what they have to say and what's going on in their wonderful lives.
Thank you, Sherry. I love your optimism, and I completely agree. And I think this morning will be a really good indication of the good things that will be coming and that are already happening. So as you're watching this morning, we want to see your faces. So snap a selfie of you or whoever you're watching this with this morning and share it on your social using the hashtag BizBSchool. And you will have a chance to enter to win one of 4 $50 gift cards to Craft Sushi. That is a lot of really yummy craft sushi right there. So we will draw 4 winners at the end of this today. Look at that great selfie from last time. So this is all thanks to our sponsor, American National. So they are sponsoring the People Picks portion of today and have provided those $50 craft sushi gift cards. And we will draw those winners at the end of this B-School this morning. So get to snapping those photos. So we will get things started. Today we're talking with 5 of the up and coming leaders that were featured in our July-August cover story, 10 for the next 10, about 10 local business leaders who we know are going to make an impact in the next 10 years. They were chosen based on their incredible vision for our region and backed by impressive initiative to make it happen. They are moving us forward in technology, innovation, education, sustainability, and urban development. With us today, we have Travis Allen, President of Total High Speed Internet Solutions, Christina Engel, Chief Financial Officer and Vice President of Group Services at Erlen Group, Chelsea Bode, President of Pearson Kellen Technology, Nicole Holt, Deputy Superintendent of Academics at Springfield Public Schools, and Addison Jones, Design Associate at Dakewells Architecture. So to get started, I've asked each of them to give us a little background on their business and their role in the business. Also tell us a little bit about their families. And finally, we want to hear about your best day this summer in 417 land and how you spent that day. So Travis, we'll get started with you. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Travis Allen. I'm the owner and president of Total High Speed Internet Solutions. We've been in business since 2005. It's pretty crazy because in 2005, there was no YouTube, no Netflix, no Facebook, no streaming video of any kind. So in just this short 15 years, things have changed dramatically. People use internet for a lot more things. So we've had to grow and adapt and be able to provide internet service in faster ways and find ways to do it in more creative ways in the rural areas. We specialize in rural internet. We do some in cities as well. And then most recently, we're doing a lot more fiber to the home. But a little bit about the family. I married my high school sweetheart in 2003, and we have 9 children now. We've had one every other year, basically every 2 years for the last 17 years. So best day that I've had recently this summer was we typically do our anniversary trip in August, in the middle of August. And this time we decided to just kind of stay local and enjoy the local area. So we got to stay on Table Rock Lake and got to enjoy the lake. And it was really fun, first part of August here. So anyway, we're just business-wise, we're focused on trying to find the ways to get internet to people that don't have it or don't have very good options right now. We recently were awarded a large amount of funding to build rural fiber to the home, which is very expensive to build because there's not a lot of homes in rural areas sometimes. So we're pretty excited about that. We hope to be able to start construction on that very soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that overview. Next, we'll go to Christina. Good morning, Christina.
Morning. I'm Christina Engel. I'm the CFO of the Erlen Group. The Erlen Group is a family of industrial companies with real estate investment at its core. We've got businesses in the real estate, aggregates, and logistics industries, probably most famously Springfield Underground. My best day is probably any typical weekend day for me, going for a run on the Stack mountain bike trails with a friend, and then blackberry picking with my girls. I've got 3 daughters, and then we'll probably fit some pool time in.
Sounds perfect. Okay, Chelsea, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Chelsea Bode. I'm the president of Pearson Kelly Technology. We're a managed service company headquartered in Springfield, Missouri, and we have a second branch in Joplin, Missouri. Let's see. I would like to say I recruited my husband from St. Louis to Springfield, and we've been together for 17 years. We have 2 amazing kids, 6 and 9. And so unlike the rest of the world, they think COVID is the best thing that ever happened because they've gotten to see a whole lot more of mom and dad. And the best day before we knew COVID was happening, made the decision to put a pool in our backyard. And so when water went in, the kids were excited. That was probably the best thing to reflect back on this last summer.
I love it. My kids are about the same age and they think that this has been the greatest thing ever, especially this summer. They've just lived their very best life. So it'll be a tough transition. Okay, Nicole, good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Nicole Holt. As Logan already said, I am the just newly July 1 Deputy Superintendent of Academics for Springfield Public Schools. So this is actually my 17th year with Springfield Public Schools. So I've assumed a lot of responsibilities prior to this particular role, but this is definitely one I'm super excited about. So essentially that role oversees the academic side of the house for SPS, which means that I supervise departments that really are about student learning, teacher learning, and growth. So when you think about curriculum, professional learning, specialized programming, like for our special ed students, ELL, gifted, or choice students, early childhood, and then working really closely with the executive directors of learning for elementary and secondary and our site building principals. So a huge responsibility, but one that I'm super excited about. When I think about summer, I think any day that my husband and I can get outside and make memories, kind of like Christina said, with our 2, almost 3 boys that we have is a good time. My husband also serves the district. He is a coach that helps support our newest teachers and principals across the system. And so again, we have 2 boys. Lincoln is 4 and Theo is 2, and we are expecting Calvin here actually any week. So due date is September 6th. So we're excited about that.
You just have a couple things going on. That's all. All at once. That's amazing. And we're so lucky to have you at the district. Okay, finally, Addison, good morning.
Hey, good morning. My name is Addison Jones. I'm a design associate at Dake Wells Architecture and the founder of Better Block SGF. And Better Block was modeled after the organization, the Better Block Foundation in Dallas, Texas. And since May of 2019, we've basically created a collaborative group of community members that that want to address some different issues that we see in our built environment in Springfield, and just find ways to creatively reimagine what our city could look like and find ways to empower people in our city that have ideas for what the future of Springfield would look like, and partner with them to really create the city that they want to have and want to leave for future generations. My wife is Katie Jones. She works at the Springfield Area Chamber of Commerce, and she was also selected for this list. So we are just incredibly grateful to be a part of this group and this panel, and it's a real honor. And I think for both of us, one of our favorite days from this past summer was also our anniversary. We had a reservation to go to the new Finley restaurant in Ozark. We were really excited about it, and we got there and they were closed because the power went out. So we had a very brief meltdown, and then we decided, you know what, there's a lot of places to go in and around Springfield, and so we did a quick pivot, and then we ended up on at Vantage in the evening, just watching the sunset and really enjoying just the beautiful skyline of Springfield, and it was really a great time.
Well, I hope you can make it back to the Finley. Their patio is so beautiful, and but Vantage also. I mean, you can't really even compete with either of those. So,
yep.
Well, thank you, Addison. We're happy to have you here this morning. So, for those of you watching, if you have any questions for the panelists or comments, please put those in the chat for all to see. And if we have time at the end, we will get to those. So sometimes when you've lived in the same place your entire life, it can be hard to see your hometown for what it's worth. Travis, Christina, Chelsea, and Nicole, you guys all grew up in 417 land. So tell us about how you gained or rediscovered an appreciation for your hometown over time and the changed perspectives it brought you. Travis, we'll start with you.
Well, I think I just gained a new perspective just now from what Addison said. I didn't know the Finley restaurant in Ozark existed, and that's where I grew up and went to school all 12 grades. So I just looked it up, and I'm pretty excited to go there. So that looks pretty cool. Yeah, I think for me, it's just realizing that everybody had the same problem I had whenever I was younger, and that's that high-speed internet wasn't available even in the towns when I was younger, but just outside of town for sure. And back then, you know, it was 2002-3 timeframe when I was starting to kind of think about doing something with internet. And I would look around and, you know, nobody had anything. And I thought, well, okay, I'll start doing something. I'll start putting up some towers, putting up some equipment and getting service to people, but maybe it'll only last a couple of years. You know, surely after 2 or 3 years, some other company will come in, and, you know, a big company will come in and build something really great, but that's never happened. It's been 15 years. So several years ago, I just decided to, instead of waiting for somebody else to do it, that I would do it, we would do it. And so I just built a team, built a system, built a business around being able to handle that. So that's kind of, for me, what's happened over the years.
Yeah, and I mean, exciting that you can live in a place where you can, you know, see a problem and then just decide to fix it on your own and make a business out of it. I don't, you know, that's the 417 land is really innovative in that way, especially for entrepreneurs and small business owners who think like that. There's a lot of opportunity that maybe you wouldn't have in a bigger market. Christina, what about you?
Well, I left Springfield for a number of years for college, and then working for a while in other cities and countries, actually. And one thing for sure, the city has come a long way. I never would have imagined when I left that my husband would now own a business on Commercial Street. Commercial Street wasn't really known for being super business friendly, but he started his own company, and they're proudly headquartered on C Street, and it's really exciting to see things happening there. But for me personally, it's also just been a rediscovery of the culture. I've always loved the outdoors here. That hasn't changed. But I think I took for granted when I was, you know, younger here that Springfield really values what you bring to the table in terms of effort and quality over everything else. So really, you know, people are just looking for you to show up and bring your best self. And really, that's opened up a lot of opportunities for me that I've not gotten any other place I've lived. I think the city is really open to people who are willing to just work hard and bring ideas.
I totally agree. Chelsea, what about you?
Yeah, I think you do. It's very well said. Take it for granted when you grow up here. So I went to Glendale, pretty much born and raised Springfield from 1 year old on, and thought I wanted to get out of this place, that there's bigger and better opportunity everywhere else. And for me, the light bulb came on probably it was my junior year. I was with friends in New York, and we were all like in tow with our resumes and looking for internships, and we wanted this awesome experience. And the light bulb just hit. Why not Springfield? The community rallies around small to medium sized businesses. We're super supportive of each other. And to your point, Christina, there are several opportunities right here in our backyard. And so that was kind of my game changer, and came back and love this place.
Okay, how about you, Nicole?
Yeah, so like Chelsea, I've been here the entirety of my life, right? And I think the other unique piece for me is that all of my experiences professionally have included Springfield Public Schools, right? So that's another unique little twist on things. But when I reflect back and think about probably what I underappreciated as a youth that I appreciate now is just the power I feel here in authentic connection and collaboration. And I think the relationships that I built with some of the teachers that I had when I was within SPS have morphed over time, and our colleagues that I work with now, or they're finding themselves in retirement opportunities now and are giving back to the community, and we intersect across those boundaries as well, and now can serve our community in other aspects together. And I just think that's powerful when you live in a place where people stay for a really long time. Then those relationships across generations develop, and you get the opportunity to engage with people throughout the course of your, not only your personal life, but your professional life. It really reiterates the importance of, okay, what are you going to do now, Nicole, that you're in a different generation, and what are the opportunities you have to pour back into the lives of others like those around you did during your time. And so I think that's a powerful part of the community network in Springfield.
Yeah, that's really beautifully said. So Addison, you grew up in Kansas and then moved to Springfield. So what were some of your first impressions?
Yeah, my first impression of Springfield was Drury, where I was touring to eventually go to school. And that was probably one of the best first impressions that you can have in Springfield, because Drury is just an amazing school and an absolutely beautiful campus. It just screams Ozarks, just with their conservation and their just landscaping is just incredible and beautiful. And it was a really awesome first impression. My second impression wasn't as great as I kind of ventured out of Drury. I was honestly a little underwhelmed growing up outside of Lawrence, Kansas. I think they have the best downtown in the country, just a little bit biased. And so I kind of expected this big and like active downtown when I first moved here, and it just wasn't there yet. But I learned very quickly that there was so much going on and so much brewing that very quickly there was so much activity and development and things happening, and people, really being empowered to kind of change Springfield. And so it was cool to be here right when that was, kind of starting and see that.
Great. Well, so I know, all of you have your origin story in your career. And so you've each touched on it a little bit, but I want to know about what you consider was your foot in the door moment. So when you knew that there was really something bigger and better that you were being called to do, or when you knew that what you were working on was successful and was going to be the right path for you. So Travis, we can start back with you.
Yeah, I guess I kind of touched on that in the answer to the first question, but foot in the door, I just saw an opportunity to be able to provide service to people that couldn't get it in other places or from anybody else as far as internet service. And it's crazy because we're still seeing that. We're still seeing people call every day saying, hey, I can't get service. I've called everybody, nobody can do it. One story is I lived out south of Ozark, and when I was younger, and people would constantly call, like even my parents would call the cable company and they'd say, hey, can we get service? And the cable company, yeah, we can get you service. So then they'd come out and they'd send somebody and they'd try to hook it, they'd say, wait a minute, we don't even have service here. We don't even have a wire here. And so what would happen is people would get real jaded. They'd try that over and over, and they would think, oh, surely nobody can do this. So when they call us, even today, they're like, now, wait a minute, I've called everybody else and nobody can do it. So how in the world can you guys do it? This little small company in Southwest Missouri, how can you do it when nobody else can do it? It's getting a little bit better these days because obviously people realize that wireless is a viable option, and so it's a little bit easier to explain. But foot in the door. This, like everybody else has said, this community is fantastic. Everybody that I've worked with in our industry and outside of it, we work with a lot of cities. For example, we have equipment on water towers in over 50 cities around Springfield and in Springfield. And everybody's just so fantastic to work with. We never have trouble, working with people to get equipment on the water tower or a contract on a tower. Everybody knows that people need the service in rural areas, and so we just basically approach them and say, hey, we'd like to work with you to do something on the tower, and they what can we do to help? So I just saw somebody posted in the chat they're watching from rural Highlandville, so appreciate you watching that. So that's what I got.
Christina, how about you?
For me, it's kind of just been a series of opportunities that I've said yes to, and put my head down and done the work. Public accounting is a great profession to start your career out in. Tons of opportunities if you're willing to put in the hours, and that's what led me to different cities, different clients, different jobs, and all the way to London. Just being willing to show up and do the work and put in the hours, and they're great at rewarding that. PwC was a great place to start my career, but then shifting to the Erling Group, it's just been similarly, being able to say yes to stuff and put in the time. So I wouldn't say that there's any kind of magic moment, really. It was just being open to opportunities, saying yes, and then doing the work.
Yeah, right, exactly. How about you, Chelsea?
Yeah, so I did not want to be in the world of technology, believe it or not. I know that's shocking. But what I actually wanted to do early on was medical equipment sales. And my dad has been in this industry. There's a joke like that he put toner in my bottle as a baby, but he's been in this industry a long time and worked for a Fortune 500 company. And so I grew up watching his work ethic, and also the fact that he was losing some really good sales reps to the profession that I wanted to seek out. So he helped me get an internship in college, working with that organization so that I could get some outside sales experience and maybe be attractive to the profession that I wanted to seek out. So I thought, fast forward to the point in time where I'm in college, he has 2 other kids in college, and decides instead of the red convertible, he wants to be an entrepreneur all of a sudden. So in my mind, he was going through a little bit of a midlife crisis because it was a little too late in the game. I told him that was a bad idea, but he partnered up and started a company. And so I decided to join him as employee number 5 back in 2007. And we started having a lot of fun together. And so the foot in the door, where I knew this was meant, was in 2011. He bought out his partner, and I had an opportunity to buy in and realize that my love is not necessarily technology. It's in the game of business and winning with employees and personal development and winning with clients and that client experience. And it's been super fun. But 2011 would be my aha moment that this is what I was cut out to do.
That is so cool. I didn't know you were employee number 5. I love that. That's so neat. Okay, how about you, Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could ditto Christina. When I started to think about this prior to the event, I thought, I don't know that I can pinpoint or point to a specific time where I thought, oh, that's it, or that's the moment. I think it's been about reflecting on the places that you are, finding your passion in the work that's right in front of you. And so like whether that was the 5 years I spent as a first grade teacher or the 9 that I spent as a building principal, it was being passionate about that current role and not necessarily seeking out new opportunities, but not saying no when things presented themselves as something that you thought you could be also equally as passionate about. I've always said I have had the fortune of loving the role that I was in and not leaving it because I didn't love it anymore, right? So because I think when you look for leadership opportunities because you're unhappy in the current place you are, you don't always find yourself in the grass is greener moment on the other side. And so I've been fortunate that when those opportunities have presented themselves, I've been able to find the next best thing, but it didn't mean that the thing that I left behind wasn't equally as amazing, right? And so I think that's just the fortune of being able to watch what's coming and take a leap of faith whenever something looks like it might be something that also aligns to who you are and what you're passionate about.
I really like that perspective. How about you, Addison?
Very similar to some of the comments that have been said. I don't really feel like I had a foot in the door moment, especially with starting Better Block. I really realized that we have such great leadership in Springfield and people who really, really care about the community. And so if you are passionate about something and you work well with others and you are willing to collaborate, there is so much support and people that want to make you successful and want to encourage you. And so that was really like the aha moment, I guess, was realizing those opportunities and how much access there was to leaders in the community and to other people that shared the same drive and passion.
So we're going to just pivot a little bit to talking about some of the things individually you guys have each done. So, one big determining factor in selecting our 10 for the next 10 is the impact they've had on our community. Christina, in the article, we talk about some of the environmentally conscious practices you've implemented while at the Erling Group. It's a really big priority for your company to be stewards for the next generation. So can you talk a little bit about why this is a priority for you or how you carry this out day to day in your role?
Yeah, so I'm third generation of the Erling Group, and I benefit daily from the decisions that my predecessors made. Although sometimes we commonly curse our predecessors for why'd you drive the tunnel that way instead of this way? But they made decisions in the past to treat our assets and our community right so that they're here for future generations, and it's really an ethic that we've taken to heart, and I just want to pay it forward. Sustainability is not really a new concept for us. Part of the Erling Group extended family includes Gene Perot, who was a early Missouri conservationist. He has a book out on sustainable land management practices. He wrote it in the 60s. So, it's something that, in the broader family, we've been practicing for many, many years. And we frame all of our decisions then now today on a daily basis in a generational context. And our leadership team has really taken that to heart. And we just want to make sure that, what we're doing is going to be good for those who come after us. Just an example would be at our Joplin Stone location. We're in the process of actively quarrying, but we've also got 60 acres where we've finished quarrying, and we've just finished reclaiming those to a wildlife habitat. So it's actually a beautiful fishing pond.
Wow, that's amazing. So yeah, no pressure at all being the third generation, but how, just have the context of how long the business has been operating and the principles of it and the ability to carry that forward while also making decisions for the future is pretty awesome and not a position that a lot of people get in a family business setting. So really neat. Thank you. Another way the 10 for 10 are making their mark is finding solutions to gaps and inefficiencies within our market. So we've talked a little bit about that with Travis. And so tell us a little bit about the grant that you just received and what that's going to do.
Yeah, so good question. We're pretty excited about it. We've been working on it for well over a year. These government funding opportunities are something that in the past I would have not explored. Years ago, I remember Craig and I went to a meeting where we sat there and we thought, what in the world are they actually talking about here? And then we just left and went back home and started hooking up customers and climbing towers, you know. But today we've got a lot more people to help, and so we were able to focus on applying for the grant. But the grant is going to allow us to build fiber to the home in rural Greene County. So just outside of Springfield, basically, if you just go sometimes just half a mile outside of Springfield, or even right at the city limits line, there's no other alternative high speed. There's no fixed line providers. There's no DSL, no cable. And so this grant will allow us to build fiber to the home to over 8,600 households in rural Greene County, a little bit of Dallas County as well, and a little bit of Webster County. And so, like I said, we're real excited about it because it'll be amazingly fast, up to a gig speed. I mean, can you imagine getting a full gig in the sticks, basically? It's going to be pretty cool. It'll take several years. It'll take up to 5 years to build. We expect to be able to start in the next few months. And like I said, it'll take up to 5 years. We're hoping to do a little quicker, but we're going to be starting around the Fairgrove area. We've already built fiber to the home with our own funding in the city of Fairgrove and a few of the households around Fairgrove. So we'll just basically expand that system to all the rural areas around there. First phase is 150 miles of mainline fiber. So we'll run 150 miles down the roads and start hooking up customers in probably the next 6 months or so. We've also applied for a second round of funding. So there's another round that is in the works right now. We should know something probably next month sometime as to whether we are awarded that fund as well. And that'll help us expand the Greene County system, but also reach into Christian County, Stone County, Lawrence County, and I don't know if I said Stone County, but we'll be able to, and some Webster County as well. So, and that one's even bigger. It's over 10,000 locations and 900 something miles of fiber, mainline fiber. So it'll be amazing. It'll really help us out and help out the people in the area that need to work from home, school from home, stuff like that. So it's gonna be pretty cool.
So have you had to add to your team for this? We
have, yeah.
Right now?
So we have 70 full-time employees now and several part-time people, and then we have several contractors. These programs are primarily done by contractors, the grant programs that I'm talking about. And so we'll employ dozens of additional people as contractors throughout the build process of this grant and loan that we're getting. So yeah, but we've also hired more people internally that work for us to basically supervise the contractors and make sure that they're doing a good job. We've also hired a professional engineering company that's fairly local. They're over in Lamar, Missouri, and they're going to supervise and sort of project manage the project. So they'll do all the design work and engineering, and then they'll make sure that the contractors are doing what they're supposed to do and keeping them on track. So it'll help us replace a bunch of existing wireless customers onto fiber, and then of course new customers as well. So like I said, super excited about it. It's going to help a lot of people out. It's what I've been wanting to do for years. I've always loved infrastructure for some reason, just love systems and complexity and how things work. And when I was 13, I'd ride around on my bicycle and ask the lineman, what are you doing? What are you doing that? What's that tool for? And then he'd leave and I'd open up the telephone cabinet and try to figure out what all the wires did,
Well, I love the curiosity, and it's obviously, gotten you far in your career, helping you employ a lot of people and then bring an amazing service to more of our area. So that's exciting. Addison, you talk about our location and geography and how it's a little bit underutilized, which is one of the reasons you started Better Block. And recently, Better Block created an outdoor dining space for Druffs. So that was fun to see. So what is next for Better Block Springfield?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Druffs installation is really a perfect example of kind of our goal. We hosted an event called Parking Day last year in September, where we created a very similar space that was in downtown Springfield. And it was just a really fun, kind of small park that just showed how valuable public space is, and green space, and things that just improve the human experience. And as a result of that, Dreff's reached out to us and said, we want to do this. We need outdoor seating, but we saw the potential for creating a quality outdoor space and something that is attractive and fun and engaging. And so, we helped them with that project, but that's definitely the goal, is, kind of demonstrating what opportunities there are to improve our public spaces and just the built environment on a micro scale, to kind of demonstrate on a macro scale what that could look like in our city. And I was really inspired by the people in Springfield to start Better Block, because I've used this metaphor maybe once before, but it stuck with me. And it's, if Springfield, if our city is a book, and what you see, the built environment is the cover, the people are the content. It's the words and the stories. And you always hear to never judge a book by its cover, but ultimately that still happens. People will judge Springfield by what they see, and a lot of times they won't give our city a chance to be able to tell our story. And so my goal is really to make, to help people make Springfield as cool as they are, and to update the cover of our book so that it matches the content. And so really just finding ways to empower people to do that on their own and to feel empowered.
I love that. I love that sentiment. And I mean, that's what we try to do every month at 417 magazine, is just show off. And we have people say all the time, I had no idea. Or people that are looking to move here and they get the magazine and they said, oh, you guys actually have like real things going on. We weren't so sure about Springfield. So I do think that there's so many good stories to tell.
Yeah.
And I love that you're bringing that to life, really. I mean, you're giving it a living space for people to really engage with.
Mm-hmm.
So a common theme throughout the feature is stepping up with confidence. And Chelsea, you joined your father on his midlife crisis entrepreneurial journey, not part of your career plan, but in doing so, Pearson Kelly has seen 30% year after year growth. So how have you, worked as a team to grow the business, and kind of stepped into helping him there?
Yeah, sure. It's been super exciting. And the more that I learn about different generations, some of this makes more sense to me. So he's a baby boomer, I'm a millennial, and statistically, we both are generations that grew up kind of forced into that collaboration learning model. And so I think that's afforded us a communication that we've probably taken for granted over the years. But we definitely have different perspectives on how to get to the end goal with the same goal. And that's been very helpful. And early on, it was all about client experience. How do we be easy to work with? How do we make things simple in the world of technology where it's a cluster? But I think what has been insightful over the years is that it's not that external employee or that external client that we're as focused on. It's the internal client, which is our people. And recognizing that taking care of them first and foremost is the only way that we can scale, because then that affords them to take care of our clients the same way if we got to touch every single client ourselves. And so we're in the game of people, and it's been pretty exciting. And the team that we've cultivated over the years are really the ones that are doing great things. And it's just been amazing to see. So realistically, I think that different generations can work together. I think it's exciting for people to join our team and see different perspectives, see maybe healthy conflicts, because we don't always get along, but it's good. And it's good opposition that just makes us stronger as a team.
About how big is your team now?
Over 45.
Wow. Exciting. So Nicole, when schools closed as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak, you helped lead the transition to online learning. How would you describe your leadership style? And then has it shifted or changed, or what strengths have really helped you manage this, big transition and especially going forward?
Yeah, well, and while I appreciate the context, I will defer that it was a team, a very large team of people that led us to where we found ourselves in the spring. And while we know that model wasn't perfect, what we do know is that we put the right people in the right positions at the right moment to be able to activate that really quickly. And so when I think about how that impacts or how my leadership style was utilized in that time, I think I've always been a believer that if you position people well and if you help them lean into their natural giftings or their strengths, and then you get out of the way, that is a really powerful leadership structure. And so I think helping them articulate where they work really well and best, and then aligning the work to them. And then just making sure that where people don't have natural strengths, you can partner them with someone that does. And then as a leader, you just get out of the way and let them do amazing things. And I really think that's what we saw come together in the spring. And again, we know there were deficits to that model, but we also know that in times of needing to be really adaptable and flexible, we had the right people at the table at the right time, which allowed us to troubleshoot and plan and turn on a dime. And I think really allowed us to put together a product for this fall and opportunities for kids this fall that are just going to be richer and valuable and supportive of the change that we find ourselves in. I do think the one thing was just pace, right? So learning how to lead when speed is the essential element is really difficult. And so that was probably the greatest growth opportunity and leadership switch that had to turn quickly, was how do you manage these teams when the pace is much quicker than what you normally have to do? Yeah,
I really don't know how you guys did it. And I am very appreciative, just as a parent of two Springfield Public Schools kids. The time in which you had to turn something around and deliver it was really mind-boggling, and I'm very appreciative of what you guys were able to do. And I think we were all trying to roll with it. And so I really applaud your team for, the pace is a great way to put it, and the way that you guys pivoted so fast. So we'll just talk a little bit about opportunities ahead for 417 land. So we're in the middle of our comprehensive plan, which occurs every 20 years and establishes a guideline for future investments in the city's layout, amenities, and infrastructure. Addison, I know this is something you're really passionate about. So what are you hoping to see from the plan in regards to sustainable living and beautification of Springfield?
Yeah, I think this process has been really, really fun and a great opportunity for the community to engage in kind of shaping the future of Springfield. And definitely hats off to the leadership in Springfield and for the city of Springfield for providing such great opportunities for people to be engaged. I think that's been the best part of the process so far. Some things that I would personally like to see kind of as a result of this planning process, or just the boldness to really take some risks on some big projects and really find ways to display the best things about Springfield even better than we are, to find the things that we are really, really proud of. So just our outdoors culture and our creativity and innovation. We do a pretty good job now of really highlighting those things, but kind of taking it to the next level and saying, if we are the Queen City of the Ozarks, people should know it when they come into Springfield. It should be obvious. And the innovation and creative, just nature of our community just finding ways to promote that in how we design our city and how we invest in things, just supporting those aspects of our city that we're really proud of, and just really making Springfield stand out from all the other Springfields and all the other, small to mid-sized cities that look very similar to us. So yeah, just finding ways to make people know what we're about.
Does anyone else want to jump in on that question? I know a lot of you guys are passionate about Forward SGF and what it looks like going forward. Is there any other things that he didn't mention that you guys are hoping to see? I saw the poll that popped up. I wanted to say all of them. There was no all of the above. I'm sure Christina, the Greenway Trails Connection, I know that's really a passion of yours with a lot of the work that you do.
Yeah, shameless plug for Greenways. To quote our board president, those trails don't pop up like volunteer pumpkins. So we've got a campaign going right now called Ungap the Map. We're about 70 miles into 140-mile vision for the city. And there's some we're breaking ground on 3 trails right now. If you haven't gone up and biked or walked or run or done cartwheels on the Fulbright Spring Greenway, you're missing out. It is an incredible new trail on top of a former landfill. I think it's just a wonderful example of, turning trash into treasure and connectivity. It connects, an elementary school all the way to parks. So just some really exciting things happening in Greenways, but lots of room to go. And if you can, go to Ungap the Map and donate $5, we'll get some more trails built.
I love that. That's a great tagline. Chelsea, Nicole, or Travis, do you guys want to jump in on that one? Okay. So, just a little bit about, switching gears professionally, also working in family business, Christina and Chelsea, just for those that are watching that are maybe in the same boat. So I would, how do you guys separate work and family time when your business is run with your family? That would be my first question that I'll ask you guys. Chelsea, we can start with you.
Maybe you should answer this, Logan.
No, I'm just asking for a friend, guys.
Okay.
I've totally got it figured out.
Yes. So it's a great question because in all fairness, I'm still working towards that every single day. What I try to do is just incorporate the family as much into the work that I'm doing. In fact, I've got Ryan and Hudson right now texting me saying, can we get a shout out? Because they're watching.
Oh, hi, Ryan.
And, yes. So we do things like like Ronald McDonald House, we'll go cook for families, and we try to encourage even other employees and things like that to incorporate their families so that their kids can actually see the opportunity of the community and kind of what we do every single day. So it's not a perfect science. I'm frankly not that great at it, but it is something that I strive for, and it's a challenge.
Yeah. What about you, Christina?
Yeah, we often say that we're not sure if the business exists because of the family or the family exists because of the business. So it's really hard to separate the two for sure. I am lucky that a lot of the really hard work on family business governance was done before I arrived. I think every time you transition a generation in a family business, you hit some obstacles, you got to work through some things. And fortunately, most of the hard stuff was done before I got there. The goals and expectations for me were very clear, and it was that I'd earn my position and I would need to keep earning it if I was going to keep it. We often give kind of this example of wearing hats, and there's a story, which fortunately has not had to play out, but there's a story of, a dad saying, now son, I'm putting on my boss hat, you're fired. Now I'm taking that off and I'm putting on my dad hat. Son, I heard you were fired today. I'm really sorry about that. Would you like to talk about it? So fortunately that doesn't play out very often, but I think it's been a very clear example of, we'll be clear on what hat we're wearing right now, and stay in that role, and then switch hats if we need to, no problem, but just be clear about what role you're playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good illustration, and hopefully that doesn't ever really have to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just have a few minutes here, and one of the questions that came in from Brent Baldwin is very similar to the question, our last one that we're going to ask. So for each of you, we're just looking for 2 to 3 things that you hope Springfield has in the next 10 years. So if we were to all get back together in 2030, what would you love to be able to say that Springfield now has that we didn't have 10 years ago? Addison, we can start with you.
I think first, I think we can manage a Trader Joe's, right? We've got 10 years. I think we can make that happen in 10 years. We got to work hard, but we can make it happen. But then also, I would just love to see just a more multimodal city where there's multiple transportation options that are realistic. I think transportation is a great way to improve diversity and inclusion, and to show that we don't just care about driving a car from one side of Springfield to the other, but that we're trying to be as inclusive as possible for people who live kind of different lifestyles, and just to provide those options as equally as possible. So definitely the connected trails is huge. I think we can absolutely complete our network of Greenway trails in 10 years.
Okay, a question that came in that I'm adding now for all of you, and so Addison, you can go first, is who do we need to see on this list in the next 5 years? So give a shout out to somebody you think belongs on the 10 for 10 list. I'm going to write them down.
Oh man, I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Okay, we'll come back to you since I put you on the spot. All right, Chelsea.
Same question.
Same question. What 2 to 3 things in 10 years, and then who needs to be on this list?
All right. So I would say I travel a lot for work, and having a young family, it's very frustrating that we don't have a lot of direct flight options. So usually, like, flying out takes half a day to and from. It would be great to see better opportunities through our airline. And then I would say we have so many universities right here in our backyard, and we don't seem to retain the talent after they graduate. And so I think part of that stems from creating a space that attracts them. I don't think we can go and have that be our focus. I think it's an underlying issue, but I would love to see us keep a hold of some of the people that are either in plants or stick around here for their education. In the next 5 years, let's see. It might have to circle back to me as well.
Okay, I'm sure your husband's like, hey, what about me? Okay, Nicole.
Yeah, so I think it came up on the poll as well, and about 20% of us said it, but more women and more people of color in leadership positions across organizations in this community is important. And I think when I think about taking, I never set out to be a superintendent, but the opportunity presented itself. And one of the major drivers for me in saying yes to that role was thinking about all of the kiddos in our system who were looking up the ladder and what that might do for them to see someone in this position and coming up through the system, and how powerful that is, right? So we know there's research around that. And we know that even just one interaction with someone along your path and looking up the chain and seeing that is powerful. So I think that is something that SPS is aware of and striving. We know it's a community red flag issue and has been. And I know that there's a lot of momentum right now around how we can make the larger Springfield community, not just SPS, more diverse and inclusive. And that's back to Chelsea's point of how do we keep people here? One of the ways we do that is that there are more people that look like all broad perspectives and cultures across this community. And that is another way to retain talent to this area. And so I think I would hope for that when we're looking back 10 years from now, that is what we see across organizations. When I think about who should be on the list, I'm going to probably shout out Betsy Fogel as a person that should be on the list for the next 10 for 10. I don't know if she's already been on the list, but she definitely, and it's shameless plug for her as well, but We do that for people we love.
That's right. How about you, Travis?
Okay, no, I'm not muted. Yeah, so the next 10 years, 2 to 3 things. Obviously, I think we need a lot better broadband in the rural areas, and I'm really excited about what the city of Springfield's doing with broadband. The city utilities is building the fiber to all the locations. It's really fantastic. It's something that was needed. Other providers had said they were going to do something like that, but then didn't. So it's really great that they're doing that. But in the rural areas, still need to do that. So I'm hoping to make a big dent on that in the next several years. I like the greenways trails as well. My sons and I like to ride bikes on the trails and enjoy the outdoors. And I'd like to get more involved in helping with those type of things, those build outs. And in the next 5 years, I'd like to see some of our people that work for us here be able to be on the list that can do some innovative things, our supervisors and our managers.
Great. Nominate them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Christina, it sounds like you have a volunteer for your Greenway project. So go ahead and be following up with Travis.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can end with you, and then we'll see if Addison and Chelsea have thought of any more people, but why don't you give us your 3 things?
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate Nicole's comments about seeing people, like you, in leadership roles. I have to say I really benefited early on from seeing working mothers. I was lucky to be in an office where there were a lot of working mothers demonstrating that it could be done at a time when I was considering whether or not that was something I could do. So for sure, I, agree that examples of people who look like you in leadership roles is huge. I've already made my shameless plug for Greenways. That's Ungap the Map. But another on the sustainability topic, the number 3 way to combat climate change is composting. And I think it's a surprising thing, but the city's already got a permit to do the pre-consumer content composting, and I'd love to see them work on a post-consumer content composting and then large-scale collection. I think it's a great way to trap carbon from the atmosphere, put it back in the ground, and enhance just the soil quality. The Springfield Compost Collective is a great nonprofit that started doing some small-scale collection from businesses and neighborhoods. So something on a much bigger scale, I think, would really benefit 417.
Okay.
Oh, and sorry. A couple of people, Mary Comrie from Greenways would be a great, get Greenways out there. But also, I'm married to him, but William Engel, he owns Trail Labs. It's a cool business, but the mountain bike community, I think he's the president of the Mork off-road mountain biking club. But they do a lot of really cool things, and we are giving Northwest Arkansas a run for their money with some of the really neat trail projects and mountain biking projects going on around here.
That's awesome. Okay, Addison and Chelsea, did you think of anybody?
I actually was also thinking of Mary Comrie, so count another half vote for her. But also AJ Exner, he's a really, really good friend of mine, so I've gotten to know him really well. He loves his family and loves Springfield, and yeah, I think he really represents Springfield well. So AJ Exner with Dynamic DNA, he's a good one.
Okay, all right, Chelsea, we're ending with you.
All right. My person is going to be Taylor Wells. She is another female in leadership, but in her 20s, and just has that innate skill of logic that is not something that a lot of individuals have. So I'm really excited to see her flourish in this community.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much for being with us today, getting up super early, wrangling children so that you could be on with us so early this morning. And we're just really excited to watch all of you continue to lead 417 Land into the next decade. And I just have a lot of gratitude for having such wonderful leaders like you guys and the things you're focused on. I'm excited to see where it takes us. We do have 4 winners for our Craft Sushi gift cards. So thank you to those of you who took pictures and posted them: Carly Taft, Pamela Hernandez, Dan Snyder, and Megan Nair. So thanks, guys, and we'll be in touch about how to get those. So thank you so much to American National for making that possible. And we just want to say again, thank you to our presenting sponsor, OTC Center for Workforce Development, our contributing sponsors, American National and Blue Current Credit Union, for making this conversation possible today. We would love to have you consider subscribing to Biz 417 if you don't already. And make sure you sign up for our free Biz Break e-newsletter that comes out every Monday at biz417.com. With that, we'll make it a wrap and hope everybody has a great rest of their day and week. Bye, guys.